I want to move on to rock music though, Dave. The War on Drugs. Love the name.
Ronald Reagan.
We haven't really reviewed the War on Drugs before, I believe, and I think when I think of them, I kind of just think of this like very vibey band. um, I remember them really blowing up. I believe it was with their third album.
Yes.
Um, God, I'm misremembering the name of it now.
2014, I think it was.
Yeah, Lost in the Dream. And that was like around when I was really going to music festivals a lot and saw them all over festival lineups, and they were like the perfect mid afternoon, like go chill, grab a drink, like catch your like second or third wind of the day type band because they're just gonna jam and like you're gonna like totally just fall into the vibes. And they make really really solid albums that are critically acclaimed, but just not a band I found myself going to like a lot unless I was like working, just have something on the background and just kind of get in the zone, or if I was studying, that sort of thing. Um, how much have you like engaged with their music prior to listening to this?
Not too much. A deeper understanding that most recent album from
2017.
2017 that did win the Grammy for Best
Yeah.
Rock Album for what that's worth. And I kind of view that album like I view this new one, where it's like it's really solid and vibey, and I see why people like it, and there's really nothing I have bad to say about it, you know? And I guess in the
Mhm.
grand scheme of things, that goes a long way with new rock music. So it's I think the vocals they could be punchier for my taste, but overall, I still think the music is quite good. So it's not stuff I normally listen to, but I think highly of the band.
I laughed when you said the vocals could be punchier because one of my like first notes was, man, these vocals are so much crisper than their past albums, um, which is just kind of like for Lost in a Dream or A Deeper Understanding, they've really gone with this like washed out like
Mm.
rock jam sound, which totally works. I mean, they're like I said, their albums are all really good. Um, but I think that's the thing that stood out to me was they were definitely making some very clear production choices to pull through that like fog or that mist of their songs and really stand out more with something crisp. And that you hear that in the second song, Harmonia's Dream, where I think it's some of their like, I mean, it's really good songwriting, but just the sound and the vocals compared to other ones are so much, they stand out so much more from the acoustics in the back of the guitars. And they also have a little like, um, I don't even know, like the synths that come up in the second half of the song really like stand out for their production. And
Yeah.
I just was like, man, they're really trying something different on this album. Um, I think this is a solid album. I think your take is right. Like the War on Drugs never totally like blows me away as like, man, this rock album's great. But I'm always like, man, that was really good. Like I enjoyed listening to that. So
Yeah, this new one really reminded me of Bruce Springsteen. Like I was like,
hmm.
that's just the vibes I was getting on this. That being said, like I don't live here anymore. That's a really big rock song, and like that chorus I think is quite memorable. But that also kind of reminds me of like a Bruce song. You mentioned the synths. I think on Victim, that's where I really noticed the synths coming in for the production. But in general,
Yeah.
I feel like the stuff stays pretty high tempo. You mentioned
Mhm.
Harmonia's Dream. I think that one, you know, really maintains that. And it's funny because like the vocals don't always seem to match tempo for me, but you have that tempo, you have that really consistent drum work. Like it kind of all seems to gel together for that kind of jammy stuff. So
Mhm.
other than I think Old Skin, which I found pretty slow in the beginning of the song before the guitars come back. Other than that, I thought
Mhm.
all the other stuff was, perfectly solid, like good rock, music to jam out to. Um, I know a lot of people really ride for their lyrics. Is that something you've been attached to? Because from what I've gathered, this album run and this album growth, album to album, is impressing a lot of people.
It's funny. So the way I usually listen to music is I usually hear like the overall just like sound of it first, and then like on a
Right.
second or third listen, I'll catch the lyrics a little bit more. So I probably need a couple more listens to like really give my take on the lyrics of this album, like super deep. I think what I will say is that having listened to Lost in a Dream a couple of times, I thought that was pretty strong songwriting. And so if what the critical take has been is that they've grown across these, then I'm sure that this is probably pretty strong. But again, I'd have to go back and listen before I could really say one way or the other. Um, a couple of moments that really stood out to me, a couple of songs. Um, Change, which comes up right after Harmonia's Dream, reminded me of like a Brandon Flowers song a little bit, like his solo stuff, where it's like even the vocals a little bit seem to be a little more like Brandon's like downbeat or down energy solo stuff, which I thought was pretty interesting. It really felt like they were pulling from some contemporaries, like Harmonia's Dream at times, like the synths remind me of Future Islands. They have a little bit of like a guitar-y twang at the end of Harmonia's Dream that reminds me of maybe some like country type stuff, some country rock type stuff. I don't know if they were trying to be a little bit more eclectic in this album, but I think it all really works together really well. I Don't Want to Wait stood out too. I really like the guitar distortion that comes in at like the 3 minute mark, just really like punches the song up. And yeah, then the title track I think is just absolutely fantastic with Lucius. So a really solid album. Probably is it maybe the best rock album we've heard this year? I'm trying to think.
You know, it just might be. I'm trying to even remember what's come out this year. I immediately started thinking of
The
stuff from last
Killers.
year.
Yeah, we've had the Killers drop an album that was
Foo
decent.
Fighters,
Man,
Royal
I forgot
Blood,
about that Foo Fighters.
Greta Van Vliet,
Greta Van Fleet. I mean, go check out that
Black Midi,
review.
Squid, Black Country New Road,
I think this is probably the top of it for me.
Kings of Leon. Hard before we forget, Lucy Dacus.
Did Phoebe drop her album this year? Maybe it's
No, that was last year.
Was it last year? Man, it's all blending together for me. I'm trying to see here.
Saint Vincent, technically.
Yeah, this
Halsey,
is better than
kind
that
of
for me. Yeah, Halsey, Willow. I mean, Willow probably is the most popular rock song of the year, thanks to TikTok.
Right.
Soccer Mommy hasn't dropped that album yet. I'm waiting for
Snail Mail's coming out this week.
Yeah, Snail Mail. Oh, Japanese Breakfast might fall into rock, so that might be it for me. I'm thinking about it.
It's a solid year.
Yeah.
That's pretty good as far as rock years. Doesn't take a lot these days to have a solid year, so I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, it's just so funny to think like we're just like, oh, there are some decent ones. Okay, maybe it's Olivia Rodrigo. Maybe that's the best rock album of the year, for being honest. Depends on how you want to
piss off some purists with that one.
Anyways, check out the newest album. I Don't Live Here Anymore, from The War on Drugs.